Welcome to Malawi. Can you introduce yourself?
My name's Heather Katsonga Woodward.
And who is Heather Katsonga?
I am an entrepreneur, but I used to work in the investment banking industry. I worked for 7 years in the investment banking industry, 2 years at Goldman Sachs, which is known to be the most profitable investment bank in the world, and 5 years at HSBC, which is the world's local bank. At Goldman Sachs, I worked in what's called corporate finance. It's a more advisory type of role. Whereas at HSBC, I worked in derivative sales.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
All right. What made you to go into the financial industry?
Well, I got a scholarship to the University of Cambridge whilst I was here in Malawi at Kamuzu Academy. And I decided that, after I do my degree, I'm going to come back to Malawi. But when I was at university in my second year, all my friends were applying to investment banks. So I thought, what's this banking thing? So my friends started explaining to me, oh, investment banking is the highest paid career. Virtually everyone wants to get into Goldman Sachs. And I didn't even think I had a chance to get into Goldman Sachs, because when I went to the careers office and I asked them about my visa situation, obviously I was just a visiting student, I said, what do I need to do to make sure I get into any investment bank? I didn't even care if it was Goldman Sachs or any other bank. And they said, oh, we don't think you have a chance. Who wants to hire someone with a visa issue? It's better to hire someone local who doesn't have these visa issues. But I thought, okay, I'm still going to apply. I applied to about 7 investment banks, and Goldman Sachs was the one that accepted me, the only one I actually really wanted to get into. So it was more right place, right time, and was just following the peer group, like a sheep. But it was a fortunate thing to have done.
All right. I've noticed that you've written some books.
I have.
Can you tell us more about the books which you've written? What inspired you to write those books?
Whilst I was working in investment banking, I was thinking about what I could do for myself. So I thought, well, the only thing I know at the moment is investment banking, and most of the people that I know have only got experience in either the sales side, the capital market side, or the investment banking corporate finance side. But I've done both. It's very hard to move between the two. So I thought, why don't I write a book on how to get into investment banking? So that became my first book. As it turns out, after that, I've published 4 books, but they're all in unrelated fields. One book is a Chichewa dictionary, and a Chichewa lessons book. So those two are 2 Chichewa books. The one that sells the most is the lesson books rather than the dictionary, because the dictionary is included free of charge within the lessons book. And I did that because my husband and I, for fun, in 2011 or 12, decided to just upload videos where I'm teaching him Chichewa. And we thought it would just be us that actually enjoyed the videos, but the views started going up to now. I think the most watched video has close to 10,000 views. So I thought, why don't we formalize this and make it into a book? So I contacted my teacher who taught me Greek and Latin at Kamuzu Academy. He had learned Chichewa to a very high grammatical standard, and he became our editor. So that's how Chichewa 101 was born. And to date, I believe on our Twitter page, we have maybe 300-400 followers, which, if you think about, the language is just spoken in Malawi and maybe the neighboring region, is quite a lot. And most of them are international people who want to come to Malawi. Then the next 2 books are to do with business and saving. And I thought I'd accumulated a lot of knowledge about how to save on a personal level and how to build a business. And I compiled these into 2 books and published them. And I'm currently working on another book to do with hair care.
Okay. When I was going through your website, I noticed something. It was something about business and saving. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about business and saving. Mm-hmm. What made you to write that book about business and saving, and what advice can you give Malawians in terms of saving? Because I understand in Malawi we've got an appetite of very expensive things, but we've got a very, very poor economy.
Yeah.
What advice can you give to Malawians about the book?
I'll start with the saving. So what can Malawians do to save better? It's very hard to save in Malawi. And the reason I wrote my savings book is actually because a lot of people are like, Heather, I'm so bad at saving. Can you tell me how I should save? So I thought I would formalize my knowledge into a book. The thing about saving is that it feels painful when you're doing it, but even small savings add up over time. So I would tell people, save, even if it's just 10%, the same amount as you would tithe if you tithe. Keep that 10%. Don't spend it. Keep it in a separate bank account. And over the months, you'll see it accumulated and it becomes worth it. And in an economy where the currency is falling in value very frequently, try to invest that money as quickly as you can into something.
Okay, there's also something which you stated on your website about building a house in Malawi, which I saw it on their website. I was like, wow, it's mortgage free. Can you tell us more about the project?
Well, we're sitting in the project. So I've always believed in property as a good investment, because even if the currency falls in value, the property does not. I started the building project for the house we're currently sat in 2009. And as you can see, it's 2013 going into 2014. And it wasn't that I had all the money sitting there to build the house, but I knew every little bit of money I had, I'd invest it here. So we started slowly, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're in the 4th or 5th year. So that's the kind of patience you need to have. And in some cases, it might even take 10 years. But what will surprise you is that the time just goes like that.
Okay, and there's also about your beautiful Mac. Tell us more about the Mac. You understand? I understand you bought it cash. No.
Now I'm getting embarrassed.
No, it's out there on the thing.
Really? Did I write that?
Yeah.
On my Katsonga blog?
Yes.
Okay. Incidentally, I'd always wanted a Mercedes-Benz. From the moment I started working, I wanted a Mercedes-Benz. And in 2005 Christmas, I remember, I said, you know what? I was writing exams related to investment banking. If I pass these exams, I'm buying myself a Benz. When the exams finished, I thought, those weren't hard enough. I don't deserve a Mercedes-Benz. And I just kept waiting. 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then in 2010, I actually had the cash sitting there. And I wasn't actually planning on spending it on a car, but it transpired that my sister was sick. She had lupus. And I was just thinking, I've got this money in the bank, sitting in the bank. What am I waiting for? Why am I saving this money when you know one day I could be sick as well and die or whatever? You need to enjoy a little bit. My husband was sleeping, he was on night shifts. I said to my friend, I'm going to find you later, I'm going into town. I went to the Mercedes dealership, and by the time I came home 2 hours later, I bought my Mercedes-Benz.
It was cash?
Cash.
I know the setup in UK, normally you can buy things cash. Can you tell us about the experience when you went into the dealership to buy a brand new vehicle, cash? What was your experience there? They didn't ask you questions like, where have you gotten this money from? Or can we put you on vehicle finance?
They did ask, of course. So as I was walking around the dealership and I was looking at the models, I didn't have the money for the most expensive model. And what I went for was one of the lower models, a CLC, I think it's called. And I was chatting with a guy who was looking at another car, and he goes, oh, you want your husband to buy it for you? Even in UK, it's the mentality that your husband takes care of you and women can't buy their own things. And I looked at him and I said, no, I want to buy it for myself. And then I continued shopping. Then when I asked the car dealer that I liked this white Mercedes, but I want it in red, he opened their portfolio and said, oh, we have a red car, but it's being sold in this shop within the UK, but we can order it for you to come. And it happened that I was going to China, so I said, okay, order it. I'll pick it up in 2 weeks or 3 weeks because I'm going to China. So I said, okay, so do you want any finance deals? And I said, no, I don't need any finance deals. I'm paying cash. And he was like, oh, okay. And said, because I was picking it up later, I just paid my deposit and I went away. He was surprised, but he didn't ask too many questions about where you get the money. Because, you know, some of these outfits try to be professional. If they ask you too many questions and you feel degraded, you'll be like, forget it, I'm going to buy somewhere else.
I'm sure maybe they called, the police. To do
No, it wasn't that bad. They did their credit checks, of course.
Okay.
And they came back fine, positive.
All right. All right. Let's talk about now the financial turmoil in Malawi, the way how you look at it. What do you think about it?
The economic situation?
Yes.
I think Malawi is a beautiful country to live in. The weather for the most part is good. It's not too hot, but it's a very tough business environment and it's a very bureaucratic business environment. So a lot of business people really suffer to get the things that they need to do going. The government has there's a lot of work the government needs to do to remove some of the loopholes you have to jump through. you know, some of the bribes maybe you have to pay to get things done, and just to push people to work. You know, when you walk into government offices, the guy will sit there, how can I help you? It's like, aren't you paid to do this job? I don't know whether it's a compensation issue, I don't know whether it's a cultural issue, but the business environment in Malawi is kind of challenging, and we need to make it easier even to bring goods. Like, I can't bring any of the goods to Malawi because I even think about all the loopholes you have to jump through to get your goods cleared, the tax you have to pay. By the time your product reaches market, it's so expensive, no one can afford to buy it.
All right. Let's say if you're given a chance to be the president of this nation, or maybe the Minister of Finance, what would you see to change, especially like in the government or else in the corporate world in Malawi?
So firstly, I would say if I was offered the position of Minister of Finance or President, I'd humbly decline. But from an advisory standpoint, I would say business is the backbone of this economy. It's not bureaucracy. So I would work towards increasing the base of people who pay tax by lowering them, because right now they make the taxes so high that it's profitable for the people at the lower end to find loopholes to jump through them. So if you could extend the tax base so you can tax more people but reduce the taxes at each individual level, that's one good thing. We need a lot more currency stability. It's very difficult to plan if you don't know what the currency value will be in X number of days or years. I would encourage inward investment from foreigners. So we've seen like BP jump out of Malawi because it was just too unstable for them. I hear some, either it was Checkers or Pick and Pay, one of the South African chains wanted to come here, but when they looked at it closely, they thought it's such a challenging environment to work in. There's a lot of money to be spent in Malawi. The only thing that's needed to give businesses confidence is to extend some sort of provision to say you'll be protected. We're going to make the economy stable enough for you to be there.
You as a Malawian, definitely you must be an ambassador of this country. How can you sell this country to the foreign investors?
Malawi is actually an easy sell because crime is not that high in Malawi, so it's safe. It's safe to start off with. Secondly, it's a friendly people, and once you come in Malawi, people know about you very quickly. So the marketing expense that you might need in a country like South Africa, which is already saturated with goods, is not there with Malawi. The moment you hit Malawi, even if you're just a shop like Nando's, you're flooded with people coming in because everyone, the whole town will know there's a new shop there. So they'll cut almost completely the marketing expense. It depends on how much volume they wanted to create. And marketing is actually not as expensive in Malawi as it is in other countries. So they could actually do radio advertising, print advertising, and TV advertising at a fraction of the cost. But I would say they should check the tax rules to make sure that they understand the tax rules, because if they just jump in, they might later regret. But personally, if you ask my friends in university, they said, what we're going to hear about here is Malawi, because I'm forever selling the country. Ask my work colleagues, Malawi, Malawi, Malawi. It's a great place, it's a great country.
All right. In your spare time, what do you like doing?
I watch maybe 1 hour of TV a day, if at all. I don't watch very much TV. I like to read Entrepreneur magazine. You will never catch me buying these glossy glamour and so forth type of magazines. Personally, I think there's a very limited amount of time. So if you're gonna succeed in this world, you need to continually reinforce yourself with positive messages. I listen to a lot of business audiobooks. In a year, I'll listen 12 to 15 business audiobooks. Can I ask someone to speak in on this and ask, what do I do in my spare time? Because my husband's here and he thinks that all I do is work. So it might be brought to question that I do have any free time where I do anything other than work.
All right. No, I'll come to him.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be in the video, but maybe his voice can be heard. Yeah, so generally that's it. Maybe in a week I try to minimize 5 to 7 hours of TV the whole week. Audiobooks. I like to jog. I do 2 5-kilometer runs a week, and I want to add half runs, like 2.5 kilometers twice a week as well.
There's something which you wrote in one of your extracts where you said, I think you're trying to renovate or do something. I've just forgotten about it. But what I'm trying to point out is you discussed it with your husband that in the past you regularly go out like at half dinner.
Yes.
Then you had to say now we have to cut on this.
Oh, okay.
How do you manage to do that?
Communication is the key to everything. And if you want to stop yourself from going into debt, you need to budget. So I realized that we needed to renovate our house so that we have a home office. And the amount of money that we had was slightly less than what we needed. And I knew how much of our budget is spent on eating out. So I just said to my husband, from now on, instead of eating out 3 or 4 times a week, we'll eat out once every 2 weeks. And my husband is actually a very understanding guy. I explained why we need to do that. He said yes. So if you communicate with your partner and express why you need to do certain things, it's easy to achieve. And if you monitor your finances, it's easy to know what you can afford and what you can't afford. A lot of people in Malawi sometimes have the mentality of, let me take it now, I'll think about how I'll pay for it later, which I really don't think is the correct mentality.
What is it all about?
Well, I decided to convert from using chemical straighteners. You know, a lot of us black women like to straighten our hair using chemicals. And my hair was breaking and getting thinner. So I thought, why don't I revert to leaving it in its natural form? My sister actually suggested it. And at first, for a year and a half, I was just doing it. And over time, I realized there isn't actually a formal information portal that makes this journey easy for you. You know, somewhere you can go and that just gives you the tips on how you start. So I created a free ebook, I created a Facebook page, and I decided to approach this as a business rather than just a blog. And within 1 week, I had 1,000 Facebook followers. And that was a year ago. And to date, I have over 75,000 Facebook fans and an email list that's, you know, at about 17,000 people. And I just realized there was just a huge demand for people to do, you know, to maintain their hair in a natural form. So that's how Nano Natural started, and I sell a few accessories, but I'm actually working on my own product line, shampoos, conditioner, detanglers, moisturizers that are specific for natural hair. So they will prevent or reduce tangling. They will help to keep your hair soft and moisturized, which is a key problem for people with natural hair. And they'll help to maintain, you know, the nice structure of your hair, the way it looks when it's wet. Because what sometimes happens is when your hair's wet, it looks a nice soft texture, and then when it dries, when it gets too dry, it becomes very wiry. So my products will cater to those problems which aren't present if you have straighter or relaxed hair.
And the name Nano Natural, is it coming from Mwanza Nano or?
Yeah, my dad is originally from Neno village. Right. So at the time I was trying to name this, I was like, what shall I call it? I was like, well, I'm going natural, my roots lie in Neno, and I'm trying to take care of the roots of my hair. Nano Natural, the natural haired girl from Neno.
So the target market for things, is it the Africans or it's?
It's anyone with kinky, curly or coily hair. And this will, for the most part, be black and mixed race people. But you can actually sometimes find a white person who has kinky hair that looks like an African. So obviously they can use the product because they would have exactly the same problems. So it's more a product that is for a certain, not illness, a certain problem with hair. And that just happens to be a certain texture of hair that will more or less have those types of issues. Tangling, moisture, and curl definition. So
when can people in Malawi expect the products to hit the market in Malawi?
If I'm being honest with myself, I don't think we'll hit Malawi till 2015, because right now we're in development and we won't even be in the UK or US market for at least another 8 months. We're still in the development phase, and in the EU, the regulations require you to do certain tests before you can bring your product to market, and we're following all the regulations to the letter. So Malawi 2015, UK and USA August to October 2014.
And where are you developing the products from?
I have hired a trichologist who's also a chemist in Britain, and he's developing the product line for me.
All right. Mm-hmm. Is it from like what, natural herbs or?
The ingredients that will go in will be high quality, but they're not necessarily organic. They will just be ingredients that have been tested to be good for the problems that I'm trying to reach. So tangling and moisture and curl definition.
All right. Mm-hmm. Anyway, good luck on that one.
Thank you, we need it.
And thank you for giving us the interview. I'm sure we're the first ones.
Yep, you're the first ones to do a video interview with me. I look forward to seeing the edited version.
No, it will come out nice.
Thank you.
We're the best in town.
Awesome.